All right. Good evening, everyone. Yeah, we do have a quorum, but before I start, I'd like to take a moment of personal privilege. We had a council member, former council member, Charles Aiken, passed away on April 2nd of this year. Charlie served on the city council from July of 2020 until January of 2021. So at this time, if you guys don't mind, I'd like to take a moment of silence in honor and recognition of Mr. Charlie Aiken. Thank you all. Okay, time is 6:32. I'll now call the regular meeting of Mayor and Council to order. On April 19th, 2022, roll call, we have Councilmember Boyd and Councilmember Jackson plus myself here, so we do have a quorum. The other two council members are on their way. Please rise for a Pledge of Allegiance followed by an invocation.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Connie, will you lead us in invocation, please?
Yes, sir. Let's pray. Father, we are so grateful for this past weekend and all the celebration of the wonder of the one who created everything. Lord, we are grateful for sacrifice and those great things that come with that. Lord, we thank you for the blessings that this city gets, the wonder of springtime and the beauty of greens. And Lord, the different colors are just spectacular, and we're just grateful for renewal. We pray over this council tonight that they would be renewed in their efforts to make this a great city, to continue to make it grow in great ways. We pray over the renewal of a budget for the next year, Lord, that it would be a wise expenditure of the funds of the citizens who sacrificed to make it possible. Lord, we pray over the workers who work here and those who do all the special things that make this city a great place. We ask you to bless them with your favor. We pray all these things in Jesus' name. Amen.
Amen. Thank you. Thank you, Tony. I do have a few announcements. Municipal Court, April the 20th at 1 p.m. in the community room. Tree Board meeting, April 28th, 6 p.m. also in the community room. Planning Commission, April 26th, 6 p.m. community room. Our next council work session, May 5th, 6:30 p.m. I believe we will probably change that date. Main Street Commission meeting, May 10th, 8 a.m. in the community room. Historic Preservation meeting, May 10th, 6 p.m. community room. Next council meeting, May the 17th, 6:30 p.m. also in the community room. Council member Nathan Boyd has a birthday tomorrow. He didn't think I knew that, but happy birthday to Council member Boyd. All right, first up on our agenda are presentations, and the first one is the 2022 Child Abuse Prevention Month proclamation, and I believe we have Lauren Gregory with us here tonight.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I've got something I will pass out to all of you, but I'm going to speak first, if that's okay. My name is Lauren Gregory. I've been here before, I think last year. I think so, yeah, a couple years before, but I'm here because April is Child Abuse Prevention Month. Our agency, A Child's Voice, is located right here in Social Circle. We're near where the Edward Jones and Dr. Dowd and Dr. Jones is. We've got 2 buildings in that facility, but our nonprofit provides services to children who may have experienced abuse or have been the victim of a crime or abuse. So a lot of kids we serve have been victims of child sexual abuse, severe physical abuse, or have witnessed some form of violence. We see about 250 kids a year from Newton and Walton counties, including kids from right here in Social Circle. We partner with local law enforcement agencies, including Social Circle, police, and the DFACS offices as part of the investigation of these cases of child abuse. So our center talks to the kids. So you can imagine if you're a child and something bad happens to you and then you have to talk to a police officer with a gun, that can be kind of intimidating and scary. So our office is a little more child friendly, but then that information is still relayed to the partners who need the information. All of this is done through the child abuse protocol, which covers the Albuquerque Judicial Circuit. So that's kind of how we do that. We also do medical exams as needed to make sure kids' bodies are healthy and safe, and then a lot of family support because we know kids can heal from abuse. So we work with them. We work with families to get the resources they need to heal. And then my favorite part of the job is prevention and community education, so that we're preventing abuse from ever happening in the first place. And that's what we celebrate in April, is Child Abuse Prevention Month. Hopefully you've seen our pinwheels that are at Friendship Park. We're very excited that we were able to do that. Those are up all month as the symbol of safe, healthy, happy childhoods. We're also having an open house next Tuesday at our office. We'd love for everybody to come. We have new office space. We expanded to a second building in that same complex. So we'd love to have people come out, learn a little more about our center. We're a resource for you if you have questions or needs or want to learn more. I'll be around. My card's in here for the council. I've got a couple extras that I can link to. But we appreciate your time. Thank you for letting me bring my baby. Dad's on the way. We were double booked. But I think the mayor's going to read a proclamation. And then if you have any questions or anything like that for me, I will be glad to answer them.
Thank you, Laura, and I do have a proclamation to read. A lot of what you just said is certainly in this proclamation, but it reads, whereas according to the Child Maltreatment Report prepared by the Children's Bureau of the U.S. Department of Health and Human Services, there were 618,000 confirmed cases of child abuse and or neglect in America in 2019. And whereas the Georgia Family Connection Partnership reports that there were 173 substantiated cases of child abuse and or neglect in Walton County in 2019. Whereas in 2020, a Child's Voice Child Advocacy Center responded to 113 cases of child physical abuse, sexual abuse, and or a witness to a violent crime in Walton County by conducting forensic interviews, forensic medical examinations, and family support services. And whereas the Center for Disease Control and Prevention suggests that reported cases of child abuse may underestimate the true occurrence and estimates that 1 in 4 American children experience some form of child maltreatment in their lifetimes. And whereas according to Darkness to Light, victims of child abuse are significantly more likely to experience emotional, psychological, health, and behavioral issues. And whereas with a strong support system and effective counseling, children are able to heal from physical and sexual abuse. And whereas children's advocacy centers like A Child's Voice work within the community to spread awareness about child abuse, teach citizens how to recognize the signs and respond to child abuse, and utilize a multidisciplinary approach to coordinating care for families with the help of law enforcement, DFCS, District Attorney's Office, school systems, and mental health counselors. And whereas A Child's Voice Child Advocacy Center invites all residents of the City of Social Circle in Walton County to participate in Child Abuse Prevention Month in April of 2022 by sharing their time and talents to help create better, brighter futures for children and families. Now therefore, I, David Keener, Mayor of the City of Social Circle, do hereby proclaim April 1st through the 30th, 2022 as Child Abuse Prevention Month in the City of Social Circle, and encourage all residents to become aware of the prevalence of child abuse in our community and to learn how to properly recognize, respond to, and prevent instances of child physical or sexual abuse by supporting children and families and the agencies that serve them in our community. In testimony whereof, I have hereto set my hand and caused to be affixed this great seal of the Social Circle this 19th day of April, 2022.
Thank you, Mr.
Thank you,
Mayor.
Lord. Thank you. Yes. Thank you, Lauren. All right, next up on our agenda, we have Social Circle Police Department State Certification Presentation. And I think we're in the safest place we can be tonight.
Good evening, Mayor, Honorable Mayor Keener and council member, and Mr. Eric Taylor, our city manager. I want to say something briefly before I call Mr. Grew up. Last year in the state of Georgia, we lost over 10,000 police officers, where they threw their hands up and said, I'm out because of all the race relations are being demonized, unfortunately, sometimes by the media or whatever else going on. But I can proudly say the men and women here in this department, they do the right things all the time for the right reason. And I'm honored and humbled to be a part of this community because we love our community and we love serving the community. And that's something that I can say here. They don't stand behind me, they stand with me to say that we care. So I want to say thank you, Mayor Keener, thank you, Councilman Shelton, thank you, Nathan, thank you, Eric, and thank you, Tyson and Councilman Price for your support. You know, and you guys put a lot of stock into us out here on the streets. And this department within the city, probably one of the most high liability departments you can have. You know, you get the wrong person out here with a badge and going on, it can bankrupt the city. We all know that. That's why it's very, my thing is to hire quality people. It's easy to fill a position if you want to put somebody in there, but to hire a quality police officer that's psychologically ready, that's physically ready, you got to go through certain processes. And I'd like to say, I'd like to thank my officer manager, Kathy Eskew. Kathy been here for 6 years. She's a certified police officer, haven't been sworn in yet, but she is certified, and she holds the fort down about the standards here. It's like 139 standards, I think, that we have to adhere to. And I'm humbled to say that we had a perfect audit. We had, back in February, we had a team of auditors come down and spent 2 days with this police department going through our policy and procedure with a fine-tooth comb. And not only asking, okay, we say you're doing this, show us that you're doing this. And we did. And I tell people all the time, we don't have any rugs in the police department because we don't sweep anything on the rugs. So I tell people that. I want to ask Mr. Gruber to come up.
Thank you, Chief. Good evening, Mr. Mayor and members of council. My name is Chuck Groover. I'm the coordinator for the state certification program for Georgia. I work for the Georgia Association of Chiefs of Police, and it's my honor to be here tonight to recognize this department for their accomplishment. As you all know, and the chief just mentioned it briefly, last 2 or 3 years, law enforcement has been taking a beating in the media and around the country for accusations, people wanting to defund the police, they want to cut the budgets, things like that. Some of that, I think we'd all be honest, some of that was our own doing, is our own fault. Like what happened in Minneapolis, that was terrible. But the majority of those complaints are not founded, or unfounded. It's people with certain agendas, for whatever reason, they feel like that we need social workers more than we need police officers, and we all know that's not going to work, not in today's society. This is a 3-year process that they've been through. This is not an easy thing, and I can assure you as the coordinator of the program, we don't give it away. You have to earn it. And we've had a number of agencies to actually lose their certification because they didn't do what they were supposed to do. So this is a very important thing, and you should be very proud of what they have accomplished. The analogy that I like to use is when I make these presentations is, would you send your family or take your family to a hospital that didn't meet certain standards for health care? Well, the answer should be no, I wouldn't do that. Would you send your kids, or would you go or send your grandkids to a college or university that didn't meet certain standards for higher education? Again, the answer should be no, I wouldn't do that. if you take that same analogy and apply it to law enforcement, the big difference between the first two and law enforcement is they have to be certified or they have to be accredited and meet certain standards. For law enforcement, this is totally voluntary. It's something they do because they want to be the best they can be. And this not only translates for the department, but also for you as the community leaders and for the citizens of Social Circle. They may not realize what being certified means, but it's a big deal. And as such, it should be a big deal for you people. One of the things, and I don't know if you get your insurance through GERMA, through the Georgia Municipal Association, because of them being certified, you're eligible for a 20% discount on your liability insurance, which can be a significant amount of money. So it's my honor to be here tonight to present them with their recertification plaque and to honor them for the work they do, not only tonight but day in and day out, 24 hours a day, 365 days a year. They're out there protecting the citizens of Social Circle, and whether people understand that or whether they even think about it, they're there for the citizens, and for that they should be commended. So, Chief, if I can do this without losing anything, here's your state certification plaque. It covers you till 2025. It's signed by the governor. It's signed by my boss, who's executive director of the Georgia Association of Chiefs of Police, Butch Ayers. It's signed by the president of the Georgia Sheriff's Association. It's signed by the chair of the Joint Review Committee and the current president of the Georgia Association of Chiefs of Police. So congratulations.
Thank you.
In addition, even though this is a department-wide effort, this is something the chief can't say, we want to be certified and y'all let me know when you get it done. This is something that everybody in the department has to buy into for it to be successful. But you have to have one person that pulls it all together, one person that makes sure the policies and procedures are up to date, one person that pulls all the documentation together, because when the assessors come in, as Chief mentioned, when the assessors come in, not only do you have policies that say you'll do A, B, and C, but you also have to prove that you're doing what you say you're doing. And that person is the certification manager. And Kathy has been the certification manager for how long now?
5 years.
5 years, okay. So this is her second time through this. So she ought to have it down pat by now. But as such, that person gets their own award. And we have a certificate of appreciation for her. It's our gratitude for your dedication and efforts to the State of Georgia Law Enforcement Certification Program as the certification manager. Kathy, congratulations. One final thing, and to me, this is probably the most important thing, is these people could not be successful without your support. And I think they'll all agree to that. Whether it's budgetary issues or just supporting them, patting them on the back, shaking their hand, saying, you're doing a good job, we appreciate what you do. That means a lot. Trust me, I was in law enforcement 44 years. And to do that, that means a lot when your city council and your mayor, city manager support you. They know that. They know you've got their back. So what I do is I've got a wooden coin, it's like a poker chip, but I had these made up for people like you to honor your support of them. And on the front of the coin is the state certification seal. On the back of it is what I consider the 6 cornerstones of what certification is all about. And if you think about these 6 things, this is what you want your police department to do. Professionalism, obviously you want that. Operational guidance, which is the policies and procedures. Transparency. When things go wrong, as they will, because they're human and they're going to make mistakes, but you want to be transparent about what's happening. You don't want to cover it up or sweep it under the rug. You want to be open about it as much as you possibly can. Positive community support, they cannot be successful without the support of the community. No police department can. Liability protection. Those are the types of things that you want your police department to be, and these folks are that. So you should be very proud of that. So Kathy, if you'll hand one of those out to each one of the members of the council and the city manager, appreciate it. That's it, Mr. Mayor.
Okay.
I appreciate your time, appreciate members of the council's time, and I think they all deserve a hand.
They absolutely do. Well, thank you, sir, for your presentation tonight, and I also want to offer my thanks, and I'll ask the council as well if they have any comments. Thank our chief and each one of you guys and girls, for what you do each and every day for our community to keep us safe. Do a great job, and I certainly appreciate you and your recognition you're receiving here tonight. I'll ask the council members if they have any comment. Tyson.
I'll go back to what the mayor just said. We thank y'all for what y'all do. As he said, that it's a challenging job. So to do the job and knowing that it's a challenging job, we appreciate it, because everybody couldn't do the job. So we appreciate y'all for stepping up and doing that job for us and our community.
Thank you.
Yes, I would like to thank you all for what you're doing in our community. There was an incident that happened a couple of weeks ago, and the officers out there handled it, superbly. Any other place, it could have went different. But our officers really, they really handled it well, and I'm very proud of it.
Thank you.
I'd just like to tell all of you, thank you, and I appreciate what you do for the city.
Yeah, and I would echo everyone's comments and just say, I don't know how you guys do it day in and day out. It's a hard job and oftentimes a thankless job, and it means the world to me and my family. Just know that you guys are on the streets and here to serve our city in such a great and beautiful way each and every time. And rarely, if ever, do we hear negative comments about our police department. And so I'm so thankful for you guys and just for all your hard work and dedication for people so struggling.
Thank you all. We'd like a group picture, if you don't mind, with all you guys. I don't know if over there is better or if here is better with the...
Doesn't matter. Here you have the reflection of the window, so I don't know if let's just get over here. Right? They're right there. We need the extra. Let's give them all a round of applause.
Moving on, the next item on the presentations is the Government Finance Officers Association Distinguished Budget Presentation Award for the 21-22 budget.
Thank you, Mayor. I think it's easier if I do it from up here so I can present these to Jennifer. You know, a city finance department is, you know, one of those back office functions that is really critical to the success of any kind of organization, and so, you know, especially a city. And it doesn't really get a lot of recognition that it does, you know, similar to public works or police or fire or folks who are out there on the front lines every day. But City of Social Circle's Finance Department has recently been awarded 3 different awards that I want to take the opportunity to recognize the work that our Finance Department does. So I want to present these awards tonight to our Finance Director, Jennifer Fricks. The first one is the Government Finance Officers Association Distinguished Budget Presentation Award for the 2021 and 2022 budget. This is the 5th time that the city has received this award, and really is a mark on how the city presents its annual budget in a manner that is easy to read and easy to follow from the public. So this is a very important award. Okay. The second award is the GFOA Certificate of Achievement for Excellence in Financial Reporting for the Annual Comprehensive Financial Report for fiscal year that ended on June 30th, 2020. And I understand that this is the first time that the City of Social Circle has received this award. And so this is a very nice award, and congratulate the Finance Department for this award. And a third, we want me to hold on one of those?
Yeah.
The third award is the Government Finance Officers Association Award for Outstanding Achievement and Popular Annual Financial Reporting for fiscal year ending June 2020. And I would be the first to admit that this is not an award that I'd heard of before I started working here. This is actually a new award that they've started doing. And it actually recognizes a government who puts all the complexities of the annual financial report into a format that's easily understandable to the public. So, so this is another really good one, and I congratulate the Finance Department for this award as well.
Uh-oh. Yeah, you're gonna have to hold
All
on.
right. All right.
I really don't want that to touch me. Thank you.
Jennifer, congratulations to you and your team.
Thank you.
All right, our next item, employee introduction and recognition.
I'd like to introduce Travis Parr Jr. He's a 2001 graduate from Social Circle, and he's an Eagle Scout himself, and he works in water distribution with J.C. and Curtis. We're very glad to have him.
Now, Travis doesn't look like he's a 2001 graduate to me.
2011.
Huh? 21 maybe? Yeah.
2021.
Okay.
Okay, 2001. But I'm still thinking about what you said. It's been a long day. So
I know Travis is a man of few words, so do you have anything to say?
he works very hard.
He does. Thank you.
I believe Chief Zadell also has new to recognize.
Good evening. This is our newest firefighter EMT. His name is Ryan Pye. Ryan comes to us from DeKalb County, where he spent about his 3 years as a firefighter there with DeKalb. Ryan is married and has 2 kids. His wife is Morgan, and son Judah and Griffey is 5 and 2. When we interviewed Ryan, I talked to him, one of the things that really got my attention is that he said that they wanted to be all in the community. When this man said he wanted to be all in the community, I didn't know just how much he meant. But to give you a little background, his wife is going to be our new middle school PE teacher come next school season, next school year, I call it, I guess. And to be all in, they bought a house right up the street. So you don't get more all in than that, is to move your whole family here, buy a house, and both of you come to work here. So we're excited to have him. I think he's going to be a great addition. For any of y'all that want to get in shape or anything, Ron and his wife own CrossFit Ransom in Covington, where they do a lot of, own the gym and do a lot of CrossFit stuff. Fun fact is, before he went to the CAB, Ryan was a strength and conditioning coach for the Washington Nationals Major League Baseball team. So we got somebody over here maybe going to help whip us into shape a little better. So we're excited to have him, and we look forward to keeping him here for a while.
Ryan, do you have anything?
No, we're excited to be here, and I got to thank you guys for the opportunity.
Thank you. Ken, I'm a little bit offended when you said about getting fit, you were looking at me, so.
I'm in shape.
Welcome to the city. All right, next up we have the downtown rundown.
Good evening. I'm a downtown rundown for April. The first thing up is Family Karaoke Night. Social Circle Main Street Commission will host Family Karaoke Night in Friendship Park this Friday, April 22nd, from 6 p.m. to 8 p.m. Social Circle Grocery will be set up selling ice cream. We'll have face painting, and Main Street will be giving out free hot dogs. So everyone, please bring the family out and come and join us for an evening of fun. I'm trying to talk some of these folks in the audience into singing a special that night, so you're probably in for a treat if you show up. Coffee and Conversations for April will be hosted at Sacred Grounds Corner Cafe. Coffee and Conversations is a monthly networking event open to everyone. All are encouraged to come and share information on events and happenings within their clubs, churches, businesses, and organizations. We actually had a new resident to the city that was at the last Coffee and Conversations, so it's a great way for people, even that are new, moving to town, to come and meet folks. So this event will be April the 26th, again at Sacred Grounds at 8:30 a.m. The Citywide Cleanup, the Lions Club will be hosting the Citywide Cleanup on Saturday, April 30th at 8 a.m. The event will take place right here outside the community room, where you can grab some breakfast and get your supplies and street assignments for that morning. And then last is the Citywide Yard Sale. That's going to be the weekend of Friday, May the 6th through Sunday, May the 8th. There are quite a few folks that are already signed up. We've got a list going at the Welcome Center. So we'll be publishing a list of the participants the week of, or the week before on social media. And there will be copies available at the Welcome Center, and we're going to make sure to post some in the windows for people that may want to come by and take a picture of that also. And that's all I have.
Thank you, Amber. Any questions for Amber? Thank you. Citizens' requests, don't know of any. Are there any council requests? Hearing none, move on to agenda approval. I'll entertain a motion.
Second.
Have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? All in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes. Public hearings, there are none scheduled for tonight. Next item, financial statements.
Please forgive me, I forgot to print mine out, so I'm going to have to read them off the screen. So this is for our March financial statements, so we should be at 75%. In general fund, we're at 88%. This time last year, we were at 90%. Our expenses overall are at 72, capital at 54, and operating at 72. Last year, we were at 71. In our water fund, we are at 49%. Zero GFA funds have been received yet for this year. Of that, operating revenues are 60%. This time last year, we were at 59. For our overall expenses, we're at 44%. Our capital is 23% and operating, I believe that's 67. And then this time last year we were at 70. In our gas fund, we are at 93. And this time last year we were at 66 revenue. Our expenses overall are at 91%. Of that, 90% is capital and 92% is operating. And this time last year we were at 75%. For solid waste, we are at 80% revenue. This time last year, 75% revenue. Expenses are at 68. This time last year, we were at 65. I think that's 68. It's quarter from Does anybody have any questions? I'll see you on Monday.
Thank you. I'll entertain a motion to approve the financial statements.
Second.
Have a motion and multiple seconds. Any further discussion? All in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes. Next up, consent agenda. Mr. Taylor, will you just guide us through those?
Certainly, Mr. Mayor. We have 7 items on the consent agenda for this evening. The first 4 items are all minutes of various meetings that the Mayor and City Council has had. The first is for a regular called meeting on March 16th, 2022. The second is for executive session on March 16th, 2022. The third is for the special call meeting that is held on April 7th, 2022. And the fourth is for our work session on April 7th, 2022. The fifth item on a consent agenda is a resolution to appoint the Municipal Gas Authority voting delegate. This is actually in Social Circle done by title. And so the gas director, Paul Schlageter, is being appointed as the voting delegate for the Municipal Gas Authority, with the alternate being a city manager spot. So I will be serving as the alternate voting delegate. Item number 6 is approval of the Consultant for Unified Development Code. We're in the process of revamping our zoning ordinances and all of our development-related codes, and this is actually hiring Clark Patterson Lee to oversee that process for us for a price of $84,125, and consideration of acquiring additional pipeline capacity from Transco. We have the opportunity to acquire another 800 decatherms of firm capacity off of a pipeline that's going to be built in 2027. When we discussed this at the City Council meeting, there was discussion about the possibility of the city acquiring more than the 800 decatherms that's being offered to us. We did look into that, and unfortunately, we are not able to acquire any more at this time. There's only 3,000 decatherms being allocated by Transco at this time. We are getting 800, and the other 2,200 is being given to Commerce because of their SK battery recycling capacity. Battery plant that they have a pretty firm need for capacity at this point. And so that is the consent agenda, and recommend approval.
Make a motion to approve the consent agenda.
Second motion.
Have a motion by Councilmember Shelton and a second by Councilmember Jackson. Any further discussion? All in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes unanimously. First item under old business, I'd ask Ms. Roper to put consideration for board appointments. We still have, council still has two boards with a vacancy. That's the library board and the development authority. If anyone is ready to make an appointment tonight, I'll entertain that. All right, hearing none, we'll move on to new business. First item under new business is approval of the sanitation and recycling rates for 22-23.
So we were recently approached by Waste Management about revisiting the contract that we have with them. Under the terms of the contract, they do have the right to appeal for relief of the city. whenever financial circumstances are to the point where it makes it not feasible to be able to serve under the current structure. And so staff has met with Steve Edwards of Waste Management, and we're actually proposing a change in current service levels. So right now, the current service level is, we currently receive trash once a week with a rear loading service. This takes more than one person. It takes a person to drive the truck and a second person or second or more people to walk along the streets and load the back of the truck. This will be going to a once a week automated side load, which is kind of the way that the industry is evolving. Recycling, currently receive once a week service via 18-inch bin that's handled by a subcontractor. That will remain the same under the proposed new service level. Currently, residents are able to have 2 items picked up per week of bulk waste. These are items sitting outside the trash can. Because of the once a week, because of the automated side load service, they will no longer be able to pick up bulk waste. Also, the Waste Management currently provides a 5% franchise fee to the city off the collections. Under the new service level, the city will not be receiving a franchise fee. And so we reviewed about 5 different options, and this is the most cost-effective for the end consumer with least disruption in service. So the current service level is being provided at a cost of $16.55 per month to the consumer. The total cost for the new rate would be $18.74 per month. And Steve Edwards is here tonight, and I'd like to invite him up to talk about the reasons for this.
Yes, sir. I think your city manager covered it well. Just to kind of give you a little background, the pandemic really hit us hard, especially in the waste industry, with the labor shortage, driver shortage. We're paying our labor now 30% more than before the pandemic. And as you all know, diesel fuel was $5 plus a gallon. And then what also hit us hard is the inflation rate right now is an all-time 40-year high at 9.8%. So these are all things beyond our control. And your city manager is exactly right. There's a little bit of opportunity where we give notice that we can't continue under the current rates. We sat down and talked about it under that clause, right to petition. Came up with 5 options, and we also did a comparison of other cities. So Social Circle is actually among one of the lower rates. I think recommendation number 2 that staff has talked about is probably the best way to go. And bulk waste, not everybody uses it, but everybody pays for it. And also, it's a lot on city staff to have to take those calls, because right now it's a call-in service, and then we come and get it the next week. And really, that's it. I'm your service representative, and been doing it for a long time, and had a great relationship, and always been over backwards for anything the city of Social Circle needed, and we continue to do that. But these are just different times. It's a different world. So I think I summed it up, and if you have any questions, I'll be happy to answer them.
So I will also add that because this is a change to the contract, there is the city attorneys and Waste Management work together to work up an addendum to the contract that resets this as the base rate. And so we do recommend approval of that as well.
Any questions for Mr. Edwards? Thank you, sir. All right. Leave it to the council for a motion.
I'll make a motion to accept the staff's recommendation and to approve the addendum that the attorneys have wrote.
Second.
Have a motion from Steve, second from Teresa. Any further discussion?
When did this go into effect? When?
It goes effect August 1st.
So we'll be giving out notice to,
Yeah, actually, under the terms of the contract, Waste Management is required to send letters out to every account holder. And then we will also be very apparent on all of our social media and website, because this is something that folks need to know about, as we head up to the change in service.
I know we discussed, this is different, but are we going to put on the agenda how we're going to handle both?
It's something we need to discuss. I know we talked about having a pickup day. Staff has kind of looked at that, and it's not as easy or as cheap as we think it is. And so, that's something that certainly that, we're happy to bring to you guys for discussion, so that everybody knows, what's involved with that service. Other than that, consumers do have the ability to take bulk waste up to the transfer station up on Leroy Anderson Road.
Okay, thank you. Further discussion?
Can you put that on our agenda? for
Yes.
work
Try to
session?
get prices so we know what we're looking at cost wise.
Yep. Okay, further discussion? All in favor of the motion and second, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes.
Thanks.
Next item, consideration of budget amendment for emergency repairs to the sewer system.
Actually, consideration of amendment to the peddler's ordinance, isn't it? Or did I skip it? Okay, sorry, I had it out of order. So the city has recently experienced a rash of problems with our sewer system that three in particular that individually could be catastrophic if not dealt with immediately. The three that we have are there is an aerial sewer going over the creek here on Cannon Drive that is cast iron. It's being held up on each end by PVC, and that is actually collapsing and needs to be dealt with immediately. Otherwise, it could collapse into the creek and cause all kinds of problems.
Where's that again?
It's on Cannon.
At the creek?
At Cannon, yeah, right there at Spring and Cannon. So there's like a walking bridge that goes over the creek there. It's right across from that. Second item is influent pump station. We have 3 pumps that actually serve as a safety mechanism that for having staff go in and clean out the basins every time we have a major rain. And 2 of these 3 have failed. And if we're not able to get in there and clean it up, clean them out, then we run the risk of overflowing into the creek anytime we have a major rain. The third is the pump station at Isanova is going bad, and Isanova is a very heavy user, and it's not one that we can afford to have go down for any extended period of time. So at the work session, staff brought the idea to council to take care of all 3 of these emergencies immediately using a transfer from the gas fund, from the enterprise fund, to deal with these. And so we have had our engineers look at this, and we would need a total of $358,150 to take care of this. I will also add to this that $150,000 of the $358,000 is for the purchase of 2 diesel 6-inch trailer-mounted pumps. The city currently rents these, and we pay about $55,000 a year to rent these pumps. It's about $60,000 to buy one. So it makes sense for us to go ahead and buy both of these now. And these will actually be integrated into the new sewer treatment plant whenever we get to that point. So it's not a temporary use. So we recommend the transfer from the gas fund to the water and sewer fund, in the amount of $358,150 to take care of these these sewer system repairs.
Is that replacing the lift station, or is that?
You want to talk about the repairs? I think it's just repairing it.
On the Isanova lift station, I had asked Kenny Green for an update on that. That is not one that we was gonna do away with. And this would be replacing the pump that's gone bad and putting the valve on and fixing, because it shouldn't have went bad as quick as it did, but there is a leak. And so he's gonna put a valve in there to fix that leak, because it was constantly dripping down on it and it caused it to go bad.
With the type of load that's got on it, would it benefit us to, I mean, what did Kenny say about gravity flowing it that at some point?
He said that was not in the,
It's not in our plans, but
Yeah.
if it's that higher flow in that area,
Yeah.
it might be cheaper on us because, you know, it ain't been, what, 5 years, 6 years?
it's been about 6 years.
Put
It's
it
been
in,
on
that
that.
station ain't 6 year low.
I mean, if it's a cheaper option, we can have Kenny evaluate that,
Well, I
and,
mean, we're gonna have to fix it.
and we can cover that, you know, within this amount if it's a cheaper option.
Yeah, I know we're gonna have to fix it, but my point is they ain't gonna last for 6 years.
Yeah.
It's cheaper to gravity feed. Get rid of it.
And most of the issue there was the stormwater. It was from the stormwater.
So there are 3 pumps at the sewage station,
Yes, down there at the water, at
But-
the wastewater plant.
but we're only replacing 2, so one is in good enough shape.
No, actually, we've already paid to have one rebuilt, and we need to replace the other 2.
Okay.
Because he said that it's just a matter of time, they're going out. And right now, we have that renter, we rented a pump to help with the other pump. Because we only have one of the 3 working.
Okay.
At the cost of $55,000 a year.
Yeah, buy 2.
Cost, what, that's the,
Yeah, the rental cost is about $55,000 a year, and it's.
Well, you can buy 2.
You can buy 2 for, you can buy, you know, one for 70 more than
75,
that.
yeah.
Oh, wow, yeah,
How long will they last?
that makes sense.
Well, I'm not sure what the lifespan in those are, but they will be integrated into the new system.
It's a 2015 model.
Okay, so
they're lasting a while.
yeah.
Okay, any further questions for city manager or Robbie? If not, I'll entertain a motion.
Make a motion to accept the recommendation.
So, second.
Well, motion and a second. Any further discussion? All in favor indicate by saying aye.
Yeah.
Opposed? Motion passes. All right, the next item up, item number 3, consideration of an amendment to the peddler's ordinance.
Jay, you want to handle this, or Tony?
I'm very familiar with this. We all are. So the code changes in here, there's nothing really substantive, it's more clarifying some language for the intentions of what council did when they originally adopted this. And really, it's focused on the exemptions that come up most often. So exemption F4, instead of, it read persons who offer plants and vegetables, we've just added plants, fruits, vegetables, or livestock for sale when they are grown or raised on the same property which they are grown on. The other one is the one that comes up more often, which is the commercial property. And so that used to read an existing city permitted business with a permanent business location may allow peddlers to set up on their property. I just changed that to clarify set up on the property where the permanent business is located, so long as the use conforms with city zoning code. And then the one question I had that was brought up last time was how many peddlers do you want allowed on that property at one time? I put in a placeholder of 1 per day, but that is totally up to the mayor and council.
Where is that in code
That's
section?
number 7, sorry, Mayor.
Okay.
That's 7,
This is actually yellow highlight.
yeah.
But that limits, like the lady that has the antique mall up there, then invites those folks in, that limits her to herself plus 1, right?
Limits everybody to themselves
That's what
plus
I'm
one.
saying.
Yeah, so, in the case of 35, 35 below or 35 off, I get 35 off, I get mixed up all the time. You wouldn't be able to have the fruits and vegetable guy out there at the same time as somebody selling whatever else they sell out there. In the case of a couple weeks ago, some livestock. We've also had people out there selling barbecue at the same time as he was there.
But they was in the second part, other than the other part.
He was on the parcel next door. My point is that oftentimes you do have more than one vendor setting up out there.
Seems a little bit restrictive to me to just limit to one. You don't want it to be flea market or anything like that, but there's one per day. I mean, I'm just questioning that.
And also to be clear that this applies to the location that the business is on. So contiguous properties are not eligible under this, as written.
So the business being where there's a building located with a business license?
On the parcel itself,
Does
yes.
it address that it has to be, we talked about it being they have to be a retail business?
It just says they have to be a business license, and that the peddler the use has to conform to the zoning that the parcel's in.
So if it's zoned commercial, they have to fall, the peddler has to fall under a commercial use.
I don't have a problem with there being at least 2 peddlers, but I think where we're cutting our nose off to spite our faces, that lady was having those the people come in, inviting them in up there to the antique place. There would be 3 or 4 families up there doing a yard sale in front of that place at one time.
Oh, you mean up here on Cherokee?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And if we do
They still there,
huh?
Are they still there?
They doing a lot of work to that building.
Yeah, they are. They're putting a new roof on it. And that was like a little flea market there. I mean, they had 7, 8 vendors out there.
That was auction.
Yeah.
Auction house.
When the lady at the antique hall is moving, her son will be bringing a different type of business in there. It will not be the auction anymore, it'll be more of a permanent location forthcoming.
Okay.
So that may not be happening there anymore anyway. And that's why we done that to start off.
So Steve, your recommendation is to allow up to 2 peddlers per day? Anyone else have a comment?
I can go with that. Two.
Tyson? Nathan? Okay, with that one modification to up to 2 peddlers per day, is there a motion?
So moved.
Second.
Okay, we have a motion from Steve, second from Teresa. Any further discussion? All in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? All right. Motion passes 3-1. All right. Next item up is the presentation of the 22-23 budget.
Thank you, Mayor. Not really sure how this body has done this process in the past. My preferred method of dealing with budget discussions is to take an opportunity to kind of present kind of a high-level overview of what it is we're going to be talking about. So, purpose of tonight is to give that presentation. It's a very high-level discussion or high-level presentation Not really looking for any kind of discussion tonight or anything like that, but it's really just kind of use this as an opportunity to let everybody know some of the things that we are talking about doing in the budget in preparation for talking about this at the upcoming work session, whenever that will be, and we can talk about that here shortly as well. So as we developed, first of all, before I go any further, I want to recognize all the work that went into this, first of all by the city staff. I'm not sure exactly how much they have been involved with the budget process in previous years, but my approach is for each department to take a very hands-on role in developing their own budget, and it gives them ownership in the process, and it also helps them understand exactly some of the thought process that goes in creating some of the planning documents like this. But I especially want to recognize the efforts of Jennifer Fricks. As I understand, this is the first time she's ever actually taken the lead in creating a budget, and I just want to say for the record that she knocked it out of the park. She really put in a lot of work on this document, including, I understand, over most of the holiday weekend. So I do want to recognize that. So as we, as staff and I worked through this budget, we really had sort of 5 areas of focus that we wanted to think about as we were developing this. The first was to accomplish some of the strategic priorities that were established by the Mayor and City Council for 2022 to 2024. The second was to have this particular budget focus on infrastructure rehabilitation while planning for future growth. The third was to invest in equipment replacement and upgrades. We want to support staff growth, training, and retention. And we also want to continue providing city services effectively, efficiently, and professionally. So with that in mind, we are actually proposing a total budget of $26,228,525. That is a 41% increase over this year. Don't get freaked out by that number. Because as you will see in the water fund, that makes it the 67% change, and the gas fund's 45% of the change. The vast majority of these projects are capital items that are being paid for with GFA funding that are actually in this year's budget as well, and they're just carrying over to next year. So there is actually a revenue source tied to those. But for the general fund itself, we're proposing to go from 5.6 million this year to 6.8 for next year. And again, the majority of this is because of the focus on capital for this year. One of the things that we really focused on was knowing the growth that's coming to the City of Social Circle, to use this next year as an opportunity to try to get ahead of it as much as we can. And in doing that, there were a lot of budget-related requests that, just going on. We knew that this wasn't going to be the year to do it because we need to prepare for some of the future growth that's happening, and we also need to really address some capital items to really kind of get up to a base level of standards that we can all be happy and proud with. So in the general fund, we are recommending no millage rate increase, recommending the current millage rate of 7.9. The tax digest growth is actually projected to be very healthy this year. We're expecting it to be about 10% to 12% over previous year. And that's because of growth and also reassessments. Sales tax receipts are projected to remain at current levels. But you'll also see as we go through this, just as we did with the sewer repair a while ago, we want to increase the use of pilot from utility funds this year to support the lower millage rates and allow us to take care of some of these projects that have been delayed for numerous years. Some of our capital needs that need to be addressed. And also as far as the general fund, we're not actually proposing any use of fund balance for the general fund. So general fund revenues, the largest is of course the property tax at about 29%, and the second highest revenue fund is franchise fees and other taxes, and then also the local option sales tax makes up about 14% of revenues for this year. That's not unusual. Usually your taxes are going to be your largest revenue source for any kind of general fund. On the expenditure side, no surprises here either. Police and fire continue to be the highest expenditures, making up about 49% of your total budget, with highways and streets bringing up 16%, which includes a lot of things like drainage improvements and things like that we're going to be talking about for this year. Water and sewer fund for this year. What we're going to be presenting to Mayor and Council is one that's based on our revenue forecast that has been adjusted down to reflect actual collections. One of the things that Jennifer found as she was going through this budget process is that the water fund has been bleeding a lot of money for years. We've only looked at 5 years, and it's over, on average, probably about $150,000 a year that the water fund's been losing. Because revenues have not been budgeted as they should. There was actually, the budget amount was not actually meeting the actual revenues collected on any previous year. And so we are adjusting that to reflect more actual collections for this year.
So it was based on prediction rather than collections.
Actual, yeah. And so then what's happening in the following year is that the prediction would actually go up, and yet you're still not meeting the actual. So, you can do that for a year or two, but year after year, you're going to get to the point, where you're losing.
What was the dollar amount for that deficit?
I'm not sure the total amount, but it's in the 5 years we looked at, it was probably about $150,000 a year on average. Some years more, some years less. So, over time, that's something that can, make a big difference. Also in the water and sewer fund, the revenues reflect the CDBG grant award of $682,000 and the American Rescue Plan allocation of $848,477. We got that amount this year, and we'll get that same amount this coming year. And also we are recommending to continue the rate increase of the recommended 2.5% to continue the infrastructure improvements in water and sewer fund. Most of those are going to pay off some of the GFA loans that either we are in the process of getting or will get through our various projects. In the water fund, expenditures by department, water distribution makes up 61% of your expenditures, followed up by water treatment and wastewater treatment. And water expenditures by type, this is a capital heavy fund, and 71% of our recommended budget for this year is going to be addressing water and sewer capital and infrastructure. Gas fund, we're not actually recommending a rate increase for this year, so the gas rates remain the same, which continues to rank among the lowest in the region. And but we're able to offset this by the fact that industrial gas usage is steady and is gradually increasing. And so, with every new industry that we're adding, that is another customer that is using a good amount of natural gas. So, and on the gas fund expenditure side, the largest is materials and supplies that takes to actually operate the system. That's about 60%, followed by capital outlay, which would be about 7%. So as we focus on the priorities for this year, some of this was based on feedback that we received from Mayor and Council over time. Some of it is based on requests that have been made in previous years that have been denied for one reason or another, that finally came time to actually address the situation. Some of these were based on recommendations from the department heads. Some of it's based on my own observations as I've gone through and gotten to know these departments over the course of the year. So as far as equipment and replacement and upgrades, this is something we've talked about quite a bit. Some of the items that we are recommending in this year's budget include a leaf vacuum truck with a joystick operation. This will actually add a lot of efficiency to our leaf vacuum collection program. Right now it takes about 6 guys out there, and This will be, I don't know that will it be just one person as we learn to operate the system, but it'll be less than 6. So I'd say 1 or 2 people, which is, those are staff members that we can allocate to other areas of the city and focus on other projects. Recommending the replacement to the chipper truck. This is something we've talked about with staff, or with mayor and council. Also, a sewer video camera. I understand that this has been brought up on the council level before, and it makes sense, especially with the issues that we have with our sewer system. It'd be nice, for us to be able to be able to go out and, well, it is a picture of the system, right, and actually see what's going on versus having to dig up the street and not knowing if you're, first of all, digging in the right place, second of all, what you're digging into. Recommending replacement of the backhoe. It actually wouldn't be replacing, we'll actually be adding another one. Actually, the current one is nearing the end of its lifespan, but it certainly still has some more use. And so, again, that's more use for other departments. Recommended replacement of the water distribution utility truck and also the gas crew utility truck.
Eric, that chipper truck replacement, is that the chipper and the truck or just the truck?
Just the truck. And I know we've discussed this before, and I'm not sure exactly. I think we've in the past had it in the budget to get a 350, and that just doesn't cut it. And so there's been a desire expressed by members of council to go with at least 550 or higher. And so that's what we'll look at doing for this year.
Be fitted with something, the back of it too, right?
Yeah, it will. Otherwise, the chips are going to fly out as you're driving down the street.
Yeah, I just know we're talking about a bigger one because the other one, it fills up so fast there.
Yeah.
Spending time double.
Yeah. So you guys spoke and we listened, and so it's in the budget for consideration for this year.
I don't think a 550 is big enough.
It may not be. It may not be.
Needs to be, 650, 750, something like that.
Well, they're using that international or something.
Yeah.
So on the infrastructure rehab and planning side, this is something that I feel is very important that we get our arms around. As I've been here for 10 months or so, dealing with emergency repairs to the infrastructure is an ongoing battle every day. And we're not prepared for the growth that's going to happen in this area. And so we need to get our arms around it. We need to do it now, okay? And starting with the stormwater system. We don't have one, period. And we can all talk about various areas in town that floods quite a bit anytime you get a good rain. And so I would actually like to recommend that we hire an engineering firm to come in and do a full-blown assessment of our stormwater system for the purposes of developing a master plan for addressing stormwater needs, and ultimately, I hope, a stormwater utility where you have a dedicated fund source to pay for stormwater needs on a year-to-year basis. But we won't address that until we get the assessment of the stormwater, so you got to start there. The city has done a good job in the past of developing master plans for other infrastructure, but with the development that's coming, one of the things that I've seen with the sewer plan in particular is that is assumed on population growth through the year 2050 that assumes in 2050 that Social Circle is going to have 9,000 people. Based on the growth that's happening around here, we will have 9,000 people far quicker than that. And so we need to revisit the assumptions that were in the sewer master plan, revisit some of the costs associated with some of these things. I know that the sewer plant itself, it has actually expanded over what's in the current master plan. Right now it calls for a 1.5 million gallon per day, and we're seeking funding for a 3 million gallon per day. So that's just one example. Also revisit the water distribution plan assumptions. I mean, that's another thing, you know. We get our water out of Alcova River, but is that enough? Will that able to sustain the growth that we're going to see around here? And if not, then what do we do? What are other options for water distribution? Same thing with gas system capacity. Based on some of the numbers we're seeing from some of these companies that are coming in, we need to take the opportunity now to make sure that we have the gas system to service these companies that are coming in. Gas is ultimately going to be a very important revenue source for Social Circle, and we need to embrace this service as much as we can. A couple of other items that we have talked about in our retreat was the creation of a sidewalk condition index and the creation of a pavement condition index. We'll actually hire an engineering firm to go through and identify the areas by critical need, so that we focus on the most critical sidewalk repairs first. So we focus on the pavement that needs to be done, the worst pavement in the city, get that done first, regardless of what part of town it's in. Right, takes the politics out of it. Right, when we did it, similarly with the LMIG discussion we had the last work session, right, where you have an independent firm come in and rank, and then you take the politics out of it. You see where you're able to put the money towards the greatest need. And so we recommend that we do that for both citywide streets and also for sidewalks. And the last thing on infrastructure rehab and planning, well, it's not the last thing, these are some of the highlights. Currently, in this year's CIP, there is $225,000 allocated to address broadband for the downtown using ARPA money. My personal opinion on this is that is money that is not very well spent. I think that is something that the free market is going to take care of, especially with the growth that's going to happen. The reason why internet companies don't go into more rural areas is there's nobody to serve, right? And so the more people you serve, the more customers they have, the more willing they are to come in. So we are able to use ARPA money for drainage projects. And so I'm recommending that we actually reallocate that money towards addressing some of our drainage projects that we have, about $250,000 worth. Because the $225,000, we actually ended up receiving more from the federal government. We actually ended up receiving about a little over $800,000. So it's close to about $250,000 that we're able to put towards drainage projects. Beautification and facilities, key priorities. One of the items we've talked about in the past is hiring somebody to mow the grass for Friendship Park, Library Roundabout, and City Hall. What we have in the budget is not just for lawn mowing, but also for weed control, fertilization, and other chemical control. So that you'll see that in the budget. We also have money in the budget this year for a quarterly street sweeper to come through the city. For street sweeper to come through the city on a quarterly basis and sweep the major corridors. Several times this year we've had the streets crew out here on overtime on weekends, bumping the streets as they call it, right? And we have, I kid you not, we have hauled away at least 7 or 8 dump truck full of just dirt that could have been taken care of if you just had a street sweeper that was coming through on a semi-regular basis. Also in this year's budget, we have a recommendation to retrofit the downtown streetlights, to swap out the globes, to make them more consistent with the other streetlights that we have just put in, and to also retrofit the existing poles to add power. One of the things that we heard around Christmas time was no lights in the downtown for Christmas. Well, we didn't have any way to power it. So this will help address that situation. On the facility side, we're talking about doing some interior upgrades to the police station to make some of their space a little bit more functional and more useful to them. Talking about upgrades to the community room, this room. It's a nice room. Needs some updates. Yeah. Needs some updates. Not only from a room functionality side, but also from a technology side. For example, here we are. We're plugged into a projector screen them on the wall, One of the things we should be doing is looking at some sort of monitors so that people in the audience can see what the council's looking at, right? And maybe do that on a wireless basis so we don't have boards everywhere. So one of the items we've also been talking about for City Hall, we've talked about the second floor room that is a little shaky from a structural standpoint. And we actually had an engineer come out and evaluate it, and he believes that the problem can be fixed just by adjusting, adding some supports to the foundation under the new part of the building. And so there's money in there for that. And also, I'm not sure City Hall has been painted since the city's been in there. Is that right?
It's not.
So it's time for some painting. A little beautification of City Hall. Let the cities.
Outside or?
Outside primarily, yeah. But it's time for the city to set example in beautification. Yeah, there's some wood that's rotting that needs to be addressed. So.
Are we finished with the roof project?
Not quite.
We're getting closer and closer all the time, though.
I guess we got some money held back.
There's retainage. Yeah, there's retainage. Okay. This can be kind of hard to view, and I really don't want to go through all this tonight, but I just want to go through a quick rundown of the items that are in the CIP. So a lot of these items we've already talked about tonight. We've talked about the painting. We've talked about the structural support. We've talked about the interior upgrades for the police department. Also in the general fund, we've got the $250,000 I mentioned for the drainage repairs, reallocating that ARPA money towards that. We also have money in there for the Georgia Power Light project and also the infrastructure paving that we do on a regular basis. On the water and sewer side, again, this is where all the money is, the large amounts. But I will point out here that everything you see in orange is a current project that has already been approved by the council that is going to be paid for with GFA and or CDBG. And so the majority of these are already in process, in one stage or another at this point. But we're not going to get it done by July 1. Again, just kind of looking through all the various water distribution projects. The Social Circle Parkway South project is $230,000 in that. That is for the water line project we've been talking about doing on Thurman Bacchus. And I know that we are getting close to being able to sign the contract with Newton County Water Authority. So we get about $670,000 there that we're looking to allocate for this year to get that project going. But we allocate $230,000 in case it carries over to October, November for next year. In the gas fund, we're looking at capacity increases for Alcova Drive, East High Tower Trail, and we've talked about the backhoe replacement. That will be split with water distribution, also the gas crew truck, and we're going to need some new meters for all the new development that we're getting. Splost, again, we've talked about a lot of these. Sidewalk rehabilitation, we have $145,000 in there for this year for sidewalk rehabilitation. We've got $70,000 in there for our LMIG match for this year to take care of some more paving. We got an additional $30,000 on top of the $250,000 in there for drainage. And then also some of the facility upgrades that we have talked about. On the personnel side, keep this real general. What we are doing is recommending one new person in the general fund, and that is for a community development director. The amount of phone calls and demand put on our planning and zoning department is in great need of additional staff, and in talking with the current staff member, she's indicated a desire that as we've talked about at the retreat, to bring in somebody a little bit higher on the department head level who has a little bit more expertise dealing with some of these big projects that we're seeing. So we put that in here for this year. We want to increase the code enforcement officer to a full-time status. It's currently a part-time status, but we feel that by adding fire inspection to the position, we can make it a full-time position. It's a regulatory-heavy position that is appropriate for one person to do both jobs at this point. Eventually, we'll need to continue addressing code enforcement, and when that time comes, we'll add staff members. And when that time comes, but it won't be this year. In transit, we currently have 2 part-time positions that we are recommending combining into 1 full-time position. We actually end up saving money by doing this, believe it or not. And by combining these 2 part-time into 1 full-time position, we actually increases our ability to provide service in the afternoon. Right now, we really don't provide any kind of transit service in the afternoon just because we don't have anybody to drive the bus. But by hiring somebody on a full-time basis, we'll be able to do it all day long and be able to serve the citizens who need that service. We have 1 new position recommended in the water fund. This is for a water distribution technician. And really, the greatest purpose of this position is to have somebody to shadow Curtis and JC for a year or 2, to try to receive from osmosis and experience all the knowledge that those individuals have through their almost 100 years of service to the city. So it's time for them to kind of pass on that knowledge and somebody to collect that knowledge. We are currently doing a salary study through a firm called Whit Perrin. Those results are not here yet, but we're actually looking at every position in the city to see where we fit in comparison to other municipalities, other counties, because we need to do this to make sure, number one, that our staff is being paid appropriately and the current pay and the appropriate pay grade, and also to retain them. A lot of jurisdictions are paying a lot more than the City Social Circle, and it's time for us to kind of figure out exactly what they're paying and what we need to do to be able to get closer to what those rates are. I don't know what that means ultimately, but we should have the salary study back by around the end of May at this point. So it is something that we want to consider further. As far as increases, this is one that we've really struggled with. You want to do right by your staff and recognizing them. Also recognizing the struggles of what inflation is doing to everybody's pocketbooks. But at the end of the day, with 8-10% salary, 8-10% inflation, you can't give staff that kind of salary increase. It's something that we struggled with on what to do and want to do the right thing by our staff. And so we're actually going to be recommending a total salary increase that people are eligible for of 5%. And this is what we did for this year. So it's 3% for COLA and up to 2% if based on merit increase if they're meeting or exceeding expectations. And then also on the personnel side, there are no changes in health insurance or benefits for this year as of yet. So it's not actually contemplated in the budget.
What does the community director look like?
Community development director, it is a high-level position that oversees planning and zoning.
Okay.
In a lot of jurisdictions, it oversees economic development, oversees annexations. It's involved in a lot of plan reviews, a lot of changing of zonings and ordinances. Mm-hmm. Yeah, so it's a very high level position. Okay. And I think that current staff does well. Mm-hmm. But I think generally speaking, without speaking ill of staff, because I really don't mean to. Mm-hmm. But it's time for Social Circle to add to that capacity in some form or another, and we believe that it is on the department head level.
Okay, thanks.
So next steps. So currently, and it's something we need to talk about, we'll be bringing this to council for robust discussion, if you will, at the next work session. Currently, that is scheduled for May the 5th. I would like to see if we can maybe look at a different date for that, as that will be going to the Gas Authority Conference, also on May the 5th, now that I'm a voting delegate. So want to look at doing that, a day or two before. That event is on May the 4th through the 6th, so looking at either May the 2nd or May the 3rd to have that work session. Yeah, May the 3rd is a Tuesday night. Following that, we'll have the public hearing on the operating budget on May the 17th. The public hearing on the millage rate, we'll do two of them on June the 2nd. First one will be at 10 in the morning, and the other one will be at 6:30. Then we'll have the third public hearing on the millage rate for at 6:30 on June 21st, at which point hopefully we'll be at the point where we can adopt the operating budget and the millage rate both on the 21st of June 2022. So that is the high-level presentation of what we're looking at for this year. What we intend to do at the work session is, I'm not going to go line item by line item, but I do want to have each department here and give them the ability to talk about what they want to do for their budget and what some of what the big differences are. And I think that's, when you do it on a department by department basis, apart from the capital needs, that's something we should be able to get through pretty quickly, I think.
Any questions about what you heard?
Good stuff.
Eric, thank you and your staff. I know this is never is an easy task, but we appreciate you being here, and thank you and your staff for what you do. Any other comments from council?
I just know that May 3rd will not work for me. It's my anniversary. I'll be back in town on the 4th.
I think Eric's out on the 4th and 5th, is that correct?
4th, 5th, and returning to town on the 6th.
Yeah, what's Monday?
Well, he just said he's going to be out until the 4th.
I'm leaving out on the following weekend, the weekend before, and I won't come back till the 4th.
I mean, we could always.
What about the 6th? That's what I did.
Yeah, I'm returning back to town that day. The budget is a higher priority, so I have no problems not going to the Gas Authority Conference if we need to keep it as scheduled.
Well, I think you probably need to go. What about the following week?
What's that schedule?
9th, 10th, 11th. I know I'm out on the 12th and 13th, but other than that.
I can't do the 9th, so I could do Wednesday the 11th.
Wednesday the 11th.
Students.
I'm good for the 11th. I'll be out 12th and 13th.
11th,
At 6 o'clock in the morning.
the 11th works for us as well. So.
Tracy, does that work for you?
Yeah. Flexible.
Okay, so we will reschedule the work session for the 11th.
You just have to extend it to my, that's what it is.
Yes.
All right. Anything else about the budget? All right, if not, we do have a need for an executive session that needs to be for real estate, personnel, and litigation. I'll entertain a motion.
Second.
A motion and a second. Any further discussion? All in favor indicate by saying aye. Aye. Opposed? All right, we are in executive session.